Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Drew. This is Trey. So, look, here's the deal. Sometimes the smallest things in your life can actually have the biggest impact. Just like if someone makes just the smallest, tiniest little bit of a spoiler, it can ruin the entire movie for you.
So guess what? That's what we're doing for you guys today in our new segment called
Spoiler Alert,
where we spoil movies for you guys in one line. Be ready.
The Lion King. Mufasa dies, Scar dies, and Simba becomes king. But he cries after just singing a song called I Just Can't Wait to Be King. So, what do you want?
The Empire Strikes Back. Vader is Luke's dad, and you find out in the next movie that Luke and Leia are actually brother and sister.
Family entertainment. The Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis is actually dead the entire time.
Harry Potter. Turns out he is a wizard.
Yeah, that one's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Dirty Dancing. Baby actually did get put in the corner, and Swayze was not happy about it. But it's okay, because they ended it with the whole, posing deal.
So you actually just spoiled that movie for me because I've never seen Dirty Dancing because it was made before I was born.
It's okay, neither have I.
Sorry.
Anybody old enough to remember Dirty Dancing? Okay, man, yeah, we got some old people in the place. Good to see you. Welcome to North Point. This is a big weekend for North Point because this is Republic Campus's 1 year birthday. So I'm going to start us on key. Okay, ready? No, we're not going to sing. But Republic, we celebrate with you. A year ago, everything got set up. We were super nervous. Is there anybody going to show up at Republic? And they did. And we're so thankful. Matter of fact, I was talking to John Martz, our Republic pastor, over there earlier this week. And we were just kind of talking about this 1 year birthday party coming up for it's our newest campus. And I was talking a little bit about some of the stories that have come up there at the campus. And one of the things we said before we launched the campus, we're not launching the Republic campus to become a more convenient location for people to attend North Point. That's not why we launch campuses. Though, for those who are on the west side of town, it was a lot more convenient location to be part of North Point, and we're glad for that. But it's a missional launch. It's not just a convenient launch. And so the whole point was, let's launch this with the anticipation that there would be people who would come to experience Jesus Christ at that campus. And so one of the things that this launch team did, and those of you who are at the Republic campus, some of you were there from the very beginning as a launch team. They had some cards, and before we even had a service, the launch team was challenged to write down some names of some friends and family who lived in the Republic area, who you're praying that this would be the engagement they would have with Jesus Christ. And one of the stories that I heard this week is one of our volunteers there at the Republic campus, they had written down certain families' names, friends of theirs for years, but it would have been too much of a drive for them to attend with them at a different campus, and they were believing that God would use the Republic location as opportunity to really connect with their friends and help their friends connect with Jesus. And as John was relaying this story to me, 8 months ago, so the campus started 12 months ago. 8 months ago, that family came for the very first time. And so this North Point family was very excited that this is a family they've been praying for. 6 months ago, for the very first time, they served. And serving is not like it's about time someone does something around here. That's not why we serve. Serve is actually part of it. How do we just get on board with the mission and connect with people? It's a statement of man, I want to help this mission that I've become a part of as well. So it's a big statement. And then just in the last few weeks, the family has marked a next step of water baptism that's going to be celebrating here later on in this next month. And we're just thrilled. And that's one of the stories of why do we launch a campus. Our fundamental belief is that it's easier to bring people in your neighborhood when you attend a church in a neighborhood. And that's not possible for everybody in every neighborhood, but we've got 4 of them now. And so I'm thrilled at what God's doing in Republic. I'm thrilled to be able to celebrate the birthday this weekend. And so even if you're not at the Republic campus, we want the Republic campus to know all of our campuses. We celebrate with you. It's one vision, one mission. We are praying for you before your campus, and we're praying with you and celebrating you now that you are fully grown now as a 1-year-old. So, hey, this series that we're just starting, spoiler alert, what I want to do, I want to talk about some different things that have the ability to spoil God's best plan for our lives. Now, these aren't things that we're trying to do, so this is kind of a don't do this kind of list. But these are different things that, if left unchecked, will spoil God's purpose and design for us. God desires something for us. We were born not on accident. We were born with purpose, for purpose, right? God has purpose for us. And some of us have spent years, even decades, trying to find our own purpose. But then what happens is God's already has it for us. And the moment he takes his gifts that he's wired us with, the moment he takes our passions, our desires, and helps us point those in a way that serves others, that's how we serve our purpose. When we take our God-given gifts, our resources, our wirings, the way we are, and we use it in a way that helps others, that's how we fulfill our purpose. And there are different things that happen that will spoil God's best plans for our lives. Today, I want to talk about this idea of competition, this idea of trying to always compare with those around me. And so we're talking about killing the scoreboard. That all of us have this scoreboard internally. A lot of us have a scoreboard externally. And what I want to talk about is the danger of success. Now, in America, success is a big deal. Success for Americans is more important than a lot of other countries. All right. So some countries will celebrate, just kind of as a country vibe, we'll celebrate artistry or different things. In America seems to be this competitive, tribal mentality, and we see that growing up. And I'm competitive. I don't know if I'm more competitive than you, but I'll try to be, right? So we have this naturally around us, but what we see is how it even impacts us as when we're young. Like, for example, if you got preschoolers, they have report cards, right? And so what you'll see now, it used to be like A, B, C, D, and then F. And I don't know why there's no E, but A, B, C, D, and F. Any of you, you part of the F train at some point in your life? Okay, we'll just guess. Okay, but when I was growing up, it's not that much. It's not that common anymore to have A, B, C, D, and F letter grades for kids. I was reading about a kindergarten and preschool that what they have is they have strengths and developing strengths. Think about that. It's 2 categories. You're either strong or you have a developing strength right there. That's so American right there. To just say, it's a weakness. It is a weakness. It is a failure, but we're saying it's a developing strength because we want to win. We want to win. As a matter of fact, there's this sign that was in the bathroom, not in one of North Point's bathrooms, but in a bathroom, and it says this, is we aim to serve our customers well. We take pride in the cleanliness of our restroom facility. If you believe there is an opportunity for improvement in the cleanliness of our bathrooms, please let one of our employees know. An opportunity for improvement in the cleanliness of our bathrooms. Since when is standing ankle deep in a reeking puddle of urine an opportunity for improvement? Only in America, we're like, okay, because why? Because it's about success, it's about winning, it's about delivering, it's about scoreboards, it's about measurables, it's about constant and never-ending improvement. Now, I'm all about, I think it's important to leverage and to make as much impact as possible possible with the time we have, with the people we have, with the resources we have. But here's how I'm positioning it in our notes for tonight, is that Jesus doesn't remove my ambition. He redefines my ambition. Ambition is a good thing, but it has to be redefined by Jesus. Ambition to be the best in and of itself could be a harmful thing and could be the very thing that spoils our ability to impact others and to receive the love from God. Think about this. And I know I'm talking to a lot of people who have spent a lot of time and read a lot of books on success, how to develop, how to improve. And I'm not opposed to that. But I really want you to think about this. Ambition alone, God doesn't want to eliminate that. He does want to redefine it. What does success look like? Is it possible to have all the success that we get in all of our self-help books, all the podcasts, but still absolutely miss God's best for our life? It is very possible to accumulate a whole lot of money, accumulate a whole lot of affirmation, to accumulate the envy of everybody else watching and miss what God has for us. So what we want to talk about is killing the scoreboard, specifically the wrong scoreboard. Now, this is not a message about how to be lazy. This is not a message about not trying hard or not working hard. That's not what this is. And so if you struggle because you have more ambition than what is helpful, you're probably not going to lose your work ethic just because we have a message about redefining the scoreboard. I was over in St. Pete. My girls they're down in Lakeland, Florida. So there's one airline, Allegiant Airline, flies directly to either St. Pete or to Sanford, okay? And my girls are right in the middle. And so, but the thing about Allegiant, they fly like whenever they want to. It's like twice a week. And so you're kind of, it's a good deal. You just got to stay there 13 days or whatever, but you're at their schedule. So there was the only time I can fly back. One of the times I was down in Florida was going to be early morning, and it was about an hour drive for the girls. And so I ended up with a hotel by an airport. And I got there early evening and had night to kill, and right across from where I'm staying is a Greyhound track. Now, I don't know if you're a big Greyhound fan or not. I've never been to a Greyhound race in my life. So I wander over there and I go and I watch this Greyhound. I mean, just watching the people at a Greyhound race, that was amazing. I didn't even know that kind of tribe existed. It's a thing, right? I'm watching these people and they're placing bets on dogs. And the dog's just going to run around on a lap. And so I'm curious, like what's your secret? They're like, well, whichever dog goes to the bathroom first, as soon as it comes out, that's going to be the lightest dog. I'm like, that sounds logical, all right? But it's just funny watching, and these dogs, I've never seen anything like this. I think I saw this on a cartoon before, and so I knew it existed, but watching this was just funny, is the mechanical rabbit goes shooting out, and these dogs go running like crazy. And here's what I want to talk about our own ambition, is this idea that why would we ever put ourselves in a situation where we're like the Greyhound dogs? That we're chasing something that's not real, all for the amusement and entertainment of those watching us. Have you ever lived your life in such a way where what you're chasing isn't even something you want? If it stopped, it's not like you want it. Have you ever had success, and then when you got it, it was different than what you thought it might be? And then why do we do some of these things? Why do we act the way we do at work sometimes? Why do we work the way that we do sometimes? Sometimes it's because of the people watching us. So we're gonna look at a couple things about success, about scoreboard, about ambition. And so a couple things in my notes is, one, we're never more like Jesus than when we're serving others. We're never more like Jesus than when we're serving others. And the next part is also true. We're never more spiritually blind than when we're serving ourselves. We're never more like Jesus than when we think about those around us and we begin to take our gifts, our passion, our time, and do it in a way that serves others. And we're never more spiritually blind than when we're chasing a mechanical rabbit around the track of our career. Is the last thing we want to do is waste our laps, waste our time, waste our energy, waste our resources serving ourselves. When we do that, we're the ones who are blind. Now, the disciples had an interesting opportunity. They got to hang out with Jesus in the flesh all the time. And there's 3 different occasions in Scripture where we see the story. I want to read in Mark chapter 9. And I don't know if they're the same story or if the disciples are so dense that it took them 3 different lessons to learn this story. It's not clear. But here's what it says in Mark chapter 9. It says, the disciples and Jesus, they came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, Jesus asked them, what were you guys arguing about on the road? But they kept quiet because on the way they had been arguing about who was the greatest. Time out for a second. These are the disciples of Jesus. Jesus noticed that they were bickering about something. I don't know if you've ever hung out with several kids in one setting. Have you ever seen them bicker? You ever wonder, like, what in the world are you even fighting about, right? That's Jesus's Tuesday, okay? Every single day with Jesus. So I don't know if you ever get intimidated by Bible characters. You ought not, okay? Unless it's Jesus. Because the rest of them, they're knuckleheads just like us. These disciples aren't the kind of people that are so saintly and holy that you can never hang with them. These are the people who in earshot of Jesus are arguing among themselves. And depending on if this is the same story as the other 2 accounts of it in the Gospels, this would actually be the very week that Jesus is going to die. So the stakes are high. Purpose is very important. And what are the disciples going to do? They're arguing about who's the greatest. So sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. How do I know when I'm a little bit too competitive? A little bit too focused on the wrong rabbit? A few things I jotted down. They're not in your notes, but when I'm constantly comparing myself to others, a better than or worse than. When I'm constantly comparing myself, that's when I know that I'm focused on the wrong scoreboard. Second thing, when my self-worth is driven by my latest results. Kind of keep track. Now, not in front of everybody, okay? Maybe tuck them in the pits, right? Nobody knows your score, okay? But if one of these indicates you know, even at your weak moments, that means that should be a warning flag. Another thing that should be a tick for you is when you can't celebrate someone else's success. When something good happens to somebody and you're quick to rationalize, well, yeah, but let me tell you a little bit more of the story. Okay, yeah, it's kind of cool they did this, but yeah, it's a great new car. But did you know that they got in debt to do that car? Right? Like, yeah, they got the promotion, but you know what they had to do to get that promotion. I just not worth doing. It's not worth doing that for me. You know, these different kind of things. 4, when we don't make room for people more gifted than us. That's kind of the same thing, is when I can celebrate someone's success, when I can make room for other people, when someone new on the team comes who's wildly gifted and the boss likes them a lot, and I can celebrate that too. And I don't have to try and put them down. When I have to have the final word on everything, that's another sign that I'm struggling with the wrong scoreboard. So here's what we need to understand. We live in a time of world history and a location geographically where success is elevated. If you did a quick Google search of success, you're going to have no shortage of reading material. If you went to Amazon.com or half.com, whatever it is, and you wanted to order a book on success, there's going to be no shortage. If you went to wherever you get your podcasts and you tried to Google, I would like to be more successful at, you're going to have a whole lot of autofills that jump out there because success is a big deal in America. But the problem is, if we're chasing the wrong rabbit, if we're looking at the wrong scoreboard, what happens if we spend our life trying to achieve success and we don't get it, and it wasn't even the thing that God had for us? Or even worse, what happens if we do get it and it's the wrong thing? There's something more important than success, it's significance, and it's serving others. Two things I think that will help us to change the scoreboard. And they're very simple, but they're not easy. The first is this: to cut out comparison. And that's going to be a homework assignment for all of us, to cut out comparison. Is just to eliminate that from our habit. Is we don't need to validate our own security by cutting down someone else's achievement. We don't want to do that at work. We don't want to do that at school. We don't want to do that at church. We don't want to be like, well, yeah. Everyone's kind of excited because they made a decision to follow Jesus Christ, but when are they going to learn what I know, right? We don't want to be like that. Like, well, yeah, they're leading a group, and that's cute, but I've got a few more people in my group that I'm leading, right? It's really weird that even with a spiritual filter, we can fall into some of these things, even as a church. Like, oh, how many people go to your church? Wow, how many campuses do you have? Yeah, and it is silly. It's a silly game that you could think that something is spiritual based on the size of something. That's just not ministry. That's not Jesus-like. So we cut out comparison. A few years ago, students at Harvard University were asked to make seemed to be a very easy choice. Either they had one of two choices. They could make $50,000 a year, or they could make $100,000 a year. Easy choice, right? Except here was the context that they were given. If you made $50,000 a year, you would be in a community where everyone else made $25,000 a year. But if you made $100,000 a year, you'd be in a community where everyone else made $200,000 a year. And by far, most of the Harvard students chose $50,000 because it wasn't about the money. It was about the comparison. Now, some of you are so into success, well, you're already rationalizing, thinking, well, yeah, but probably that also impacts the housing prices, and ultimately, maybe that's, I get that, but just the game that they were to play, it was a test on the comparison. I don't mind having less than what I can have as long as I have more than what you have. That's a sick part of us, right? And the truth is, it's not because Harvard students are incredibly dumb that they made that choice. I think maybe a lot of us in that same scenario might fall to that same comparison deal. We got to cut out comparison. I wrote this about comparison. It always brings pride or pressure, and neither one of them are from God. Neither one of them are from God. We have this prefrontal cortex in our brain, which is the experience simulator. It's very like a pilot would go into a flight simulator, right? And so our brains have this simulator, but it's not a flight simulator. It's an experience simulator, which means this: we practice before we get there what we believe the experience will bring us. Success, this is how it messes with us. We go into this simulation exercise mentally thinking, if I can achieve this, then I will feel this way. The problem is, unlike a flight simulator where the simulation is going to really mirror your experience if it's good, our prefrontal cortex doesn't do a good job mirroring the experience. So why that's important is often when we do experience the thing we're chasing, it's nothing like what we thought it would be. That relationship, that job, that promotion, that salary, that status, that a lot of times the worst thing for long-term success is the prefrontal cortex that tells us the thing we're chasing is going to bring fulfillment to us. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be chasing stuff, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't accomplish stuff. What it means is we should have a higher pursuit than the things around us. It should be to serve those around us. So the two ways we cut out the scoreboard, the first is to cut out comparison. 2 Corinthians says it this way: their trouble, Paul's talking about people who their trouble is that they are only comparing themselves with each other and measuring themselves against their own little ideas. That's from the Living Bible. And he says it this way, what stupidity, okay? Paul's just saying it like he sees it. So the second thing, so we cut out comparison, and then we cultivate gratitude. We cultivate gratitude. And with this, the key here, this allows us to continue chasing things, but do it in a way where Jesus has redefined the ambition. My desire is not that we would remove ambition from anybody around here. Like, I think our community can use a lot of ambition. We need ambition in a lot of different directions. What we need is a Jesus redefined ambition, the kind of energy and passion and drive that allows us to do what God's called us to do, but do it in a way that benefits and blesses those around us. And the first key is to cut out comparison, and the second is to cultivate generosity. And one of the ways we can do that is we can celebrate somebody else's situation. Celebrate somebody. Anytime something creeps in your mind that it's a competition with someone, when you begin to celebrate them, that's a big key. When we're generous with our praise, it sounds trivial, but it's not. Insecure people are often jealous people. If you have a hard time saying out loud with your mouth positive things about other people around you, at work, at school, in the community, it often means you're chasing the wrong mechanical rabbits. One of the ways to cure that is you just speak generosity and gratitude. Publicly celebrating the success of others moves you much closer to what Jesus was talking about when he commanded us to love our enemies and to pray for people who are persecuting us. Galatians 1:10 says it this way, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of God. If I'm just running around in laps for the crowd who's cheering, it says I'm not a servant of God. So a servant of God isn't someone who just sits in a coffee shop all day listening to everybody's stories. You don't have to eliminate all your ambition. What it means, though, is everything I do, there's that verse, whatever my hand finds to do, I do for the glory of God. I don't want to do a good thing the wrong way. I don't want to do a good thing, my work, my family, even my church, my faith. I don't want to do a good thing the wrong way. I want to do it in such a way that God is honored. That I want to do it in such a way that people around me see the love of Jesus Christ. Listen, we have an opportunity. We have more resources in this era, in this location of the world, that we can really be a positive change. And we all know that. We understand that. We have enough abilities and talents and passions to be able, you have everything that you need to impact the people God's called you to impact. You have everything. Whether you're doing it as a teacher, whether you're doing that as someone who just serves in our community, whether you're doing that as a parent, as an aunt, an uncle, whatever God has for you, you've got all the gifts. So take it and be ambitious with it, but do it in a way that's always serving others. What I want to do is I want to show a story here in just a moment from a North Pointer. And this is a story, I'm so proud of this person for sharing their story, because I believe it represents a lot of stories. If life was about success, it would be about turning something small into something big. And that's not the whole measure of life. Life isn't competing with those around you. It's actually connecting with those around you using those same gifts. See, left unchecked, our ambition blinds us to the people God's called us to notice. We cannot be a healthy church without noticing those around us. We can't notice those around us if we're driven too much on the wrong ambition. But when Jesus redefines us, then I take all my gifts, all my passions, everything I have. I notice those who need that connection. And I got to tell you, no matter how gifted you are, no matter how busy you are, when you stop, when you ask God, how can I serve someone else? How can I bring someone along? That's Jesus-like. We're launching a bunch of groups at each of our campuses here in the next few weeks. We do that not so that we can have a huge group ministry and bigger than the church, down the road. That's competition, right? It's about connection and community. Because there are people who need you to notice them. And we can't notice them if we're chasing mechanical rabbit. So how do we take what we've been given and say, God, how can I use this to connect with others? Check out Josh's story. And I pray that God would help you see the Joshes around you. Let's watch.
So in North Point, I started going in September of 2019. And I had been there before. Everyone's there with arrows out and holding their hands out. And it was just like, yeah, no. And so they just sat in the back and just went through the motions. And with a collective family of 7 kids, it was important for them too. But this time I told myself I need to make it, especially with the struggles I had been through. I had to make it about our family. And I didn't even know what that looked like. I had no idea. But we started going and we started practicing the principles that, the church has taught us and then, doing daily devotionals and reading some scripture. And so I forced myself as an introvert to serve. I said, I'll do safety, that's what I'll do. So I went in for the onboard meeting and I'm quiet and I go through everything. And then they're like, we want you to meet Bob Davidson. And I'm like, okay. So, kind of open myself up a little bit and just listen to the man talk. And I just felt, there's a love that comes off Bob Davidson and there's an acceptance that comes off him that I'd never really seen, especially from somebody I didn't know. Now, in that time, my mental illness got bad. So probably I not only did I just start serving, I then started going to the prep team on Wednesday nights. And now I have the community. I was still quiet. Like, I don't think I really said too much, 2 or 3 words every time we were there. I just came in and did my job. I started noticing that I started feeling comfortable around all these people. And I didn't try to question anything. I was just like, wow, this is like, I would never have talked to these people before. I would have never attempted, but I felt like I don't know why I went to serve. I think it was something told me to go serve. So that's what I did. I decided that I was going to be vulnerable in this time and admit something to everyone and really myself that I dealt with. So once I was doing that, I was able to say it out loud. Hey, I'm manic depressant. This is the way I am. I don't even understand it, but because I have you guys and there's no judgment, I can move forward on this journey with you, with the community. They just listened. And you could look them in the face and there was no judgment because they've been through things. It may not be the same as me, but they've been through their hard times and they know they needed a community. And we're all here to help each other, so I told them and they hugged me. That's what they did. There was no more question. They said, if you need anything, you call us. Tell us how your journey's going. Everything's great. Everything is going perfect. And it was February of last year. My whole family got COVID. So it was a little chaotic, trying to figure everything out. Well, what happened was my routine got off and I forgot. So I started forgetting to take my medicine. And then I went take it one day and I'll take it the next day and I got chaotic and I didn't take it again. And the next thing I know, I haven't been on my medicine for 2 weeks. I'm in suicidal thoughts. And I'm ready. This is it. My wife knew it was bad. It was bad. I had written a letter. I was done. She had contacted my parents, and so here they are being who they're supposed to be. They love their child, crying and don't do this and, tell me all these things. And my wife, doing the same thing. And I'm just not hearing it. And I don't want to hear it. I'm telling them, just stop. I don't want to talk anymore. There's nothing to talk about. Turn my phone off. Now it's silent. I turn it back on and Bob calls. Bob has no idea what's going on. None. So I pick it up and he goes, "Hey, buddy, I just want to tell you I love you." That's it. You have a good day. And hung up. And that's all it took. My wife was saying it. Don't get me wrong. My parents were saying it. But it was this guy who really doesn't know me. He knows me, but he doesn't know the ins and outs as my parents do, and my wife does. He just accepted me, and he loved me. And when he said "I love you," it went away. And that's when I realized how important community is. Because here I am again. I found the community. They're already helping me. I'm in a good place. I get myself in a bad place because of bad choices. But that community, one person, picked me back up. I don't know what happened if I didn't have Bob. I don't know what happened if I didn't have Laz, Daryl, Katrina, Kara, Judy, Bailey, Will. There's so many now. So many that I can't even name them all. And this is coming from an introvert who didn't want to talk to anyone. And now I can't even imagine not having the community.
I'm so glad that there were people who weren't so busy in the middle of a rat race to not notice the most important mission of all. It's not a competition with others. It's compassion and connection with others. Doesn't the rat race just make us a rat? What if success isn't turning something small into something big? What if success isn't turning something broke into something flush? What if success, in Jesus' eyes, is turning something lonely into something loved? Is noticing those around you and taking all of your gifts, your time, your resources, and be poised in such a way to serve others. Jesus had quite a conversation with his disciples. He says, you guys, you've seen it in the culture, in the first century culture, how all the Romans and the civil leaders in those days lorded it over each other, power and position and elbowing. But he says, not so with you. Not so with you. And that's when he would bend down and he would talk to a little kid. He would make eye contact with a struggling person. So, am I praying that God wipes out all of our ambition? No. Am I praying that God eliminates success from our vocabulary? Not at all. I'm praying that we would never be too busy for those around us, because then you've already answered it. You're too busy. I'm praying that we would never be too important for the least among us, because then we're too important, but that we would take the model of Jesus and kill the wrong scoreboard, stop chasing the wrong rabbit, and say, God, success comes and goes, but I'm living for an audience of one. I'm chasing significance, not success. So let me pray with you today. Father, I know that there are people who they feel disconnected. They feel lonely. And I know that when they compare, they can feel inferior. And God, that's not a gift from you. I pray that today you would help them to be seen, to be known by you, and help them to focus on how they can serve, to kill the comparison, and to cultivate generosity. And Lord, I pray for those who might be on the other end who feel superior or better than. I pray that you would challenge us today, that we would kill the scoreboard, we would cut the comparison, and we would cultivate generosity, that we would be a connected group, not a competitive group, and in doing so, model the ambition and maximize the gifts you've given us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.